Hi, this is another edition of Point Counterpoint. This is Robert.
And I'm Sujay.
Hi again. We were talking about culture a little bit last time, and one thing that always perturbs me, I had another favorite show of mine. Being into fantasy and sci-fi, call me a nerd if you want. Had another favorite show of mine rewrite the character from its white male origins to a female. And if it happened in itself like one or two times, I wouldn't care, but it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
Every single major character. In particular, this one was actually He-Man.
Uh-huh.
And the cartoon is called He-Man, was a big thing in the 80s. And basically, you see it? Yeah, okay. They killed off He-Man. And then they put him off again.
Right.
And, it's disturbing for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, why is this being done? Do you think it's being done on purpose? And is there any consequences to this, which I think there are?
I mean, yeah, for one, it is being done on purpose, yes. Because, this might sound like a broken record, but they are attacking the man here. They're attacking masculinity. And once you remove the man out of the society becomes weak. I mean, you can see it throughout history. So once they bring down the man, I think that is where the opposition gets the upper hand. Throughout history, just go through history and see. Like, I'm not now. There were a lot of female warriors as well. I'm not throwing the shade at them, but then the man. See, that's how we humans are wired. That's how we humans are built. The man is supposed to do. He's supposed to go and fight. That's how we were made. Okay, so this is. I think this is being done on purpose, mainly so that because they want to destroy society as we know it, and they want to reset and rearrange the whole fabric of society. And there will be consequences, no doubt. Yeah, and if it does come to fruition, I think we're badly screwed.
Yeah, the Great Reset again.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, well, it's only a show. But, heroes do matter for a number of reasons. You brought up a few. But heroes are universal. Every culture has their heroes. It's somebody to look up to.
Right.
And it's a reason to try to be better than yourself. And I really didn't care initially what a hero is. I like Wonder Woman. The first film, not 1984, was actually a great film.
Uh-huh.
Star Wars, I like Lando Calrissian. I liked Princess Leia. They were all strong in their own way. And Ripley in Aliens is one of my favorite characters. And she happened to be female, and she wasn't a Mary Sue. Mary Sue, do you know what that term means?
No, I don't. What is it?
It's a term in basic, actually, just in pop culture, where it's not just a female, but it applies a lot to females, where a character basically has all strengths, no weaknesses, and is better than everybody else for no reason whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
And, half of a good characterization is a flawed character where there's some growth and all that kind of crap. And it makes crappy storytelling.
Right.
And, so you're not only destroying a bunch of heroes for a different generation, you're destroying the genre itself.
Right. I get it.
But, what bothers me the most is, and everybody, it doesn't matter who they are, needs somebody to look up to. But more importantly, like you're saying, heroes unify, and they give people from different races, different economic backgrounds and cultures a shared story, and that helps unite society. And for personally, they give you value, your self-worth, your dreams. And like I mentioned, how many scientists did Star Trek and Star Wars inspire?
Right.
But your point is right. The people that strive for more power and more control don't want fathers in the families. They want the state to be the biggest influencers of children, because the world without heroes is a generation of clay. You're able to mold them in any way you wish. And
Right.
that's why pop culture is under attack. That's why male heroes are being replaced by female heroes. And
Um,
male characters are now the butt of jokes.
yeah, I
And
mean, but
stupid people.
but what's getting worse is it's not just the female characters now. They're also going to transgender characters. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this again is done on purpose because a lot of these movies are bombing.
Right.
They don't care. Not only you're ruining the franchise, you're ruining the entertainment industry.
Right. For
all
political
for
correctness.
Yes, for a deeper purpose. It's the same reason why they're pushing against the nuclear families. I mean, Black Lives Matter, they even said it. That's one of their goals.
Yes, yes.
Why we said it last time, but why would you want to do that?
Correct.
And the funny thing is, I think it's also affecting the dating world too.
Yes, I can relate. I can relate.
Let's go ahead. How is it affecting?
Yeah. So the thing is, if you're on a dating app, okay. So what I see, like 95% of the time, is okay. So there's this dating app called Hinge. Okay. So so in that dating app, there are these prompts which the other person is gonna have, and then if you find it interesting, you reply to those prompts, and then if she likes your answer, she's gonna accept your invitation, and then you both can chat, and that's how you connect. Okay. So now what's happening is, ever since there are two things that I've noticed. One is the whole pronouns thing. It's just ridiculous. They say like she, her, hers. Of course, you're a she.
India?
Yeah, it is India. Yeah, I'll send you screenshots. Okay. It's like they say pronouns she, her, and hers. Of course, you're a girl. I'm going to refer to you as she or a her or her, whatever. It's not like I'm going to refer to you as him. It's absurd. Why would I do that? Okay. And then that is one thing. And the second thing is they now have this option of telling the other person if they're vaccinated or not. Yeah.
I know the vaccination card's coming. It's coming, and it's coming hard.
It is. So it's even crept onto these dating apps, and that is sad because I mean, see, you're out there looking for a good time, okay? But then there are these bunch of people with trying to be politically correct. Of course, you don't be a bigot, you be a good person. That's what everybody wants. But then why shove something down our throats that we already know? But then it's just pointless. Like, yes, you're a woman, you're going to be called a she or her or whatever. But just to prove you're politically correct, it doesn't make sense.
And the worst part of it is it doesn't really benefit anybody except for the state and the government. I think, I don't remember the number, so I might be off, but like 1/4 or 1/3 of women now over 30 are on antidepressants.
Yes.
And as at least in America, I'm talking about America now. I don't remember when they started tracking, but women are more depressed than ever.
Right.
The sexual revolution, the cultural revolution, how is it benefiting women? And even worse, how is it benefiting children? People always bring up these, new cultural agenda. Now,
Jordan Peterson has a very interesting thing about this. Okay, so I read a lot of Jordan Peterson. So what he says is, if you're looking for instant gratification, okay, that there's a phase, say from 18, like when you become an adult, a young adult, till say you're 35. Okay. So what happens is men, okay, so there's something called sexual market value. Okay.
Sure.
So
yes.
yeah. So for men, the sexual market value starts from the age of 30.
Mm-hmm.
But for a woman, it starts from her birth till she's 30. Okay. After 30, her value just diminishes in the dating field. So if she goes about wasting the time and looking for random flings and everything, see here the guy is the happiest person here. The man's the happiest person because he's getting free sex. Okay, he doesn't get any responsibilities, and what worse comes to us, they'll just abort the baby, because that is rampant. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
There was a study where a number of women that are, can't think of a better political term than promiscuous, have
Right.
trouble creating emotional relationships.
Yes, because
You
they're
know,
looking for instant gratification. So when that
yes,
happens, the first thing what they're foregoing is responsibility. So because marriage is a huge responsibility. I am not married, but I know that it takes huge courage and responsibility to start a family, especially in such trying times. So the first thing is that
yes,
they do not want the responsibility. They just want to enjoy life as it comes.
yes.
So for how long is that going to go on? Till you're 30? Yes. Till you're 40? Yes. But what after you're 40? Your age is going to catch up. So imagine if you're 40 and
Mhm.
you're 50 and you're just alone there with, with nobody in the house but you, eating takeaway food, and your friends all have families and they have kids. I mean, you're kind of course, you think that you had a good time when you were when you were 30, 35, but now it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah, I'm actually married, and I'm lucky that my wife's priorities are the children, and so are
Correct.
mine.
Yeah,
And every other
you're blessed,
decision is
man.
secondary.
You're blessed.
Yes, and the problem is, I think a lot of people don't seem to realize the long term consequences of these decisions. You know, people that want to postpone marriage, like you're saying, it's a contract, and everyone until recently understood the contract. That basically, the male, and whether you want to call it sex is gender roles or not, the male was the defender of the family. If he had to, he would give his life to defend the family. He would work to support. And yeah, a woman might trade her prime, but they were there until they got old, and it was the best environment for a family. But the problem is now feminism, and I don't care if I say that word. A lot of people get banned on YouTube for using that word. Feminism
Feminism is cancer.
is destroyed half the social contract.
Right.
Well, they want the part of the contract that benefits them, but they want to get rid of the part of the contract that benefits the man. A friend of mine, actually a few friends of mine, said basically they got tired of dating because women are no longer women, and they mean that as in the traditional aspects of women.
Yes.
The women now, like, they're more bossy. They don't bother being as feminine. They don't, they want to rule the relationship, but they still want somebody there.
Right.
I mean, they want the marriage, but they don't want to be a wife.
Wife.
And with that in mind, and with the problem that 80% of divorces are started by women, and courts in America are not fair towards men.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same here as well.
Anymore.
It's the same in India as well. Yeah.
And a lot of men don't think it's worth it. And if this is a great thing, well, then why are women more depressed? Why why society seem to be more miserable in general? Because women are more depressed than ever. They're on more psychs than ever.
Right.
The marriage is declining and continues to decline. A lot of kids are born out of wedlock in America are not fair towards men.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same here as well.
Anymore.
It's the same in India as well. Yeah.
And a lot of men don't think it's worth it. And if this is a great thing, well, then why are women more depressed? Why society seem to be more miserable in general? Because women are more depressed than ever. They're on more psychs than ever. Right. The marriage is declining and continues to decline. A lot of kids are born out of wedlock, and crime is going up. Right. These are all related.
I mean, that is one of the byproduct of having a single parent, especially for the single mother. Like, if you don't have a father figure, I mean, eight out of 10 times, the child is going to end up doing bad things once they grow up. So
yeah, so I mean, in a way, how is this benefiting anyone except for a small group of people on the short term? Right. The only one that's benefiting is the state, because people again become more dependent. Then the government gets bigger, and the government has more control. I mean, that's why. I mean, if you take a look at in American cities, they're very, very heavily Democratic. they're also, the nuclear family is almost completely wiped out. I think that's
Is that the case in the
absolutely on
Midwest as well?
purpose. And
Yes,
that's
I can understand, that being the case on, on the West Coast and, parts of the East Coast. But is that the case even in the Midwest?
it, cities, people think that a lot of times cities and counties are Democrat or Republican. What it seems to me is most cities are Democrat and most counties are Republican. And it's a question of where the population balance is. I mean, even in red states like Texas, San Antonio is Democrat.
Yeah, Democrat. Yeah.
You know,
All the cities are Democrat, if you ask me.
yes.
In Texas.
And again, it's not surprising that that's where the nuclear family is weakest,
Right.
and that's where people are
And-
more dependent.
And also, that is the reason why the government wants to destroy the suburban family now. Like, if you're
Yes.
in the suburbs and, you own a house and you have a small garden, they want to destroy that. They want you to come to the city. And when that happens, like the whole family life is gone. Like, for example, you can go back to your grandparents, your parents. Like, if you see how they live their life and how we live our lives, I mean, I say we, I mean people of my generation. I mean, not even yours, but my generation. It's like total opposites. Like, they were in a much more, even though they had less, they had everything. Okay, but now, when now that our generation has everything at to the click of a button, we lack everything. We have everything, but we lack everything. So
Yeah, there has been a push, and I was told, and it's not like I read the new infrastructure bill because it's gigantic, but there's provisions
2,700
in there.
pages.
Yes, I'm told there's provisions in there that basically make it a lot harder to build single family homes and a lot easier to build rentals and apartments.
Wow.
And there's a lot of conspiracy theories, and I used to be skeptical of all of them until some of them started coming true. That the goal basically is to, like you said, wipe away any single family homes. They want everyone renting. And like BlackRock which is a very, very large investment capital group, is buying up single family homes for the purpose of renting them out. They're buying them over market value and then they're renting them out. So again, this on purpose. Remember the video from the World Economic Forum? In 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah, Agenda 21.
Was it okay? Was this on
Yeah.
purpose?
Yeah, Klaus Schwab.
You know why?
Yeah.
And they are. Look it up. These big companies are buying homes over market value and then they're renting them out.
Right.
Again,
I
coincidence?
mean, it's
Not
so.
coincidence.
I mean, the whole Agenda 21 is so absurd that by the year 2030, they don't want the average person owning a house. They do not want him owning more than one car. People have to use public transport. You cannot own private property. I mean, it's just absurd. I mean, how have we got to this point? How?
There was an old adage where basically if you drop a frog in hot water, you'll jump out. But if you put a frog in water and slowly turn up the temperature every minute, he'll fry to death and never even notice, or boil to death. Or a dog in a chain, you're removing one link at a time and he'll be a calf, and eventually he'll be stuck right next to the pole. It's happening slowly, and people aren't putting two and two together, and people like to believe in the best of their government and of
also
the people they elect.
that is the byproduct of what they've been taught over the last 50 years, where the education system
Yes.
has been going in the last 50 years. Yeah, that is a byproduct of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it really makes me worry because again, none of this benefits the kids. It's like open borders. Why do we care about open borders? Well, A, there's supposed to be an epidemic and we have open borders. And B, medium income for the middle class has not went up in 30 years. Why? Cheap labor.
Right.
America was founded on immigrants, and I'm quite cool with that. But they came in, they did it legally, Ellis Island, all that jazz. I came from somewhere. I'm okay with that. But bringing in like unskilled people to lower wages and then keep people, that's not helping
Yeah,
the
I
people
know.
in here now,
Right.
especially while our vets starve to death. I mean that there's a lot of homeless vets, and it's a tragedy that nobody seems to care. But I'm going off on the side. I think it's on purpose, and too many people won't notice until it's too late because they want to believe the best in their government.
Right.
And
That's
it was
true.
like Venezuela. I mean, he got Chavez got in power by giving money to the poor and appealing to the poor.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently in the 90s, I think in 1994, Venezuela was apparently one of the top 3 richest countries in the world. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
now it's poor. People are eating
yeah.
from trash cans.
Correct,
And
correct.
everyone's like, socialism makes everything better. No, in the end, it actually makes everyone poor. Now you're equal.
Right.
And except for the elite, except for the ruling powers, they have all the power, they have all the money, they have all the resources.
Like what you're seeing with the Democratic Party in DC right now.
Yeah, and sadly, that's a lot of Republicans too. And I think
Yeah, I know.
people are finally waking up to it.
I
That
think
it's a one-party state with a lot of things.
I think what is more harmful to America is not the Democrats, but all the rhinos. People who are in the
100%.
GOP, but they do not adhere to the values of the GOP. That's the main problem.
Yes. And that's the reason why I going to go into Trump, why I like Trump. He was in my opinion, he was kind of a loudmouth. He wasn't a great communicator, but he was against the state. And that's what mattered to me.
And
he
I think because he was so abrasive, because he was so brash, and because he was so to the point, I think that is why he appealed to, the blue collar worker, the blue collar American, the middle class. That is why he appealed to them. Because because the middle class was tired of what was going on in DC. They were tired of all the broken promises. So that is the reason he was, he was so appealing to the middle class. And that sort of crept on.
Well, I hope, I think the majority of Americans, especially the majority of Republicans, are woken up. However, will things get better? I don't know, because I don't know if we're ever going to be able to stop the voter fraud.
I think
people don't believe it.
Because I think we're too far into this now. I mean, it's going to take if for us to come out of this hole, there has to be a miracle. Like you're too far into this, if I'm being honest.
Well, it bothers me. So many people still, a majority of Republicans believe there is some type of voter fraud. Majority of Democrats don't.
It's interesting you brought up voter fraud, okay? Because my cousin lives in California, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he got married last year. So he was an Indian. So he got married to an American, and then but he's still not a citizen, okay? Because it's not even been a year that he got married to her. So in the 2020 election, he gets he gets a mail-in ballot with his name, even when he's not a citizen.
Yeah.
So he had to go to the local election office or whatever there was, and he told them that, what, I'm not a citizen. I got married. I will be a citizen, but not now. Here, take it and remove my name off the rolls.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he just told me like 3 days back. I thought I'll tell you this, man. Good thing you brought it up.
With the recall election happening now, you can actually print your own ballot in California. And I'm sure that won't be abused. I had a quote from the New York Times. Let me see if I can find it. Aha, here it is. 2012 New York Times. So grave are the flaws in absentee voting that they raise questions about the most elementary promise of democracy. Georgia still cannot produce a chain of custody documents. Raffensperger admitted that. Chain of custody means you have to know where the ballots are every single time. Right. Wisconsin went from a few thousand indefinitely combined to 170,000 people. Arizona, I don't know. A lot a people didn't watch.
When was the last time Arizona was blue? It's ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah. And everyone's like, well, you can't prove it. I'm a big nerd and I'll stay up election night till the end. And I saw with my own eyes 6 states stop counting.
Right.
I have never seen them stop counting ever.
Right.
And then before they stopped counting, Trump was winning by a lot. After they started counting again, Trump was losing.
And
I'm not supposed to be suspicious.
Yeah, what's even more ridiculous is there's actual footage of people just removing ballots from underneath the table and then just adding those
Yes.
votes. I don't know why that is being overlooked by the courts. It is there. It is right. The evidence is right there.
And you're supposed to be counting with a observer watching you. If they're not,
Exactly.
that's technically an illegal ballot. But a lot of people are bringing up, okay, well, the court said there wasn't fraud. No, the courts rejected a lot of these cases on standing, not merit. That means on standing that you don't have a standing to have the case, which I don't agree with. But
then there is evidence, right?
But that's my point, that if it's judged by merit, I mean, they didn't like the evidence. If it's judged on standing, they didn't think you had a legitimate reason to bring this. Like, okay, like an illegal alien can't sue the state of Texas because he's not a member of Texas. That's standing. So it wasn't judged per evidence. It was judged on standing that the states didn't have a right to sue the federal government. I don't remember all the issues of standing, but if you're voting based on standing, has no reflection on the evidence. And hell, Times admitted, there were the New York Times admitted a few months ago, there was a large number of politicians and media outlets on wide range of other groups working together to get rid of Trump. And Biden said on video he had the largest voter fraud organization on record, and everyone was like, "Oh, Biden misstepped," and no, he didn't. They think they can say what they want and get away with it. And the simple fact that they stopped counting is enough for
me. I mean, I've never seen that happen. So that itself is, that itself should ring alarm bells.
Yes, and and also the states are threatening people. Like there's 2 attorney generals in 2 states threatening to arrest people if they challenge the election. You can tell somebody's guilty by how they sit there and respond to accusations.
And also one more thing, I mean, the thing I don't understand is, if the Democrats think they want it fair and square, why are they so scared of the audits?
Well, that's it. Yeah. If half the country thought there was fraud and you didn't care, that means you're willing to actually allow the elections to be considered illegitimate.
Yes. And this sets a very dangerous precedent, going forward. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And their actions afterwards are only increasing my distrust of the entire process. A lot of Republicans didn't seem to give 2 craps.
Right. I mean, they still don't.
They still don't. And and they're doing superficial measures to stop the voting, like Dominion. It doesn't matter if a ballot is legitimate or not, if it can go online and be changed. True. If there's no paper record. And that's the Democrats' own words and Biden's own words. It's too open a fraud.
What did you see Mike Lindell's cyber symposium the other day? I mean, I couldn't watch it from India.
Some of it, but not all of it, and I saw too little of it. But it was an OAN, by the way. OAN and Newsmax both covered it.
What was it about? Like what?
It was a lot of digital. I
mean, what I read was Mike Lindell said there was proof that the election was hacked by China.
Well, first of all, the ballots, I mean, the machines aren't supposed to, you're not supposed to be able to access them online, and they proved you can access them online. That was the first problem. And they can be hacked. They showed that they can be hacked. The problem is, if it's all digital, because no one does all digital, it's too easy to confuse people. It's too easy to get stuff over on people when everything's digital. So I can go on saying, well, there were this many ballots and this many votes, and you had more voters than ballots. But
I I think Project Veritas also did this in Georgia. Uh, I keep
Yeah.
forgetting his name. What's the
I mean, here, Georgia. Okay, Georgia. There was 2,000 felons, 2,500 felons voting, 66,000 underage residents
yeah,
voting,
exactly.
2,000 not registered, 4,000 in other states, 400 voted twice, 8,000 dead people, and 2,000 people receiving ballots outside of the deadline. That was one audit.
And also I think this happened in December or January, okay, where Project Veritas found that 20,000 voters were registered under one address.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Considering how little Trump lost by, any of these
exactly.
factors can be the difference in the election. Any of these factors,
Right.
and that's why the people that think there's voter fraud is increasing, not decreasing. And a majority of Democrats and Republicans want voter ID. The simple fact that the Democrats are against it, even though a majority of both parties want it, tells you everything you need to know about the fairness of the election.
Right.
So basically, you need a ID, vaccination ID, to get into a store or a restaurant,
Right.
but you don't need
The
an
voter
ID to
ID.
vote. Come on.
That sounds ridiculous.
And again, I think everything's linked. I think, like, I do think COVID is real. I think it's probably made in a lab in China, but I think it's being purposely exaggerated. So we have absentee voting, so they can steal elections, so they can enact greater control. I think everything is linked.
Right.
And who will suffer in the end? Us, the middle
The
class,
middle
and people that want freedom, people that want to make their own choices in life.
Yes.
That is the problem. And people, I think some people are recognizing it, like the hypocrisy with Obama having a party with no one with masks
Yeah.
on.
But there was
my kid has
an
to go
article
to
on the, there was an
school
article
with a
on the
mask.
there was an article on the Daily Mail. Okay, let me just pull it up.
It just was a big deal.
Yeah, apparently,
Why did Lori Lightfoot have no mask
74 people tested positive from that
at the
island
concert?
where Obama
Ah.
had his birthday. Yeah, 74 people. So that was a super spreader event.
But
And
Lori
the
Lightfoot
side
didn't wear a mask. Obama didn't
and the
wear a
silence
mask.
from the media is just baffling.
Yeah. And Newsom was caught without a mask. All these people aren't wearing masks.
I mean, Newsom was caught without a mask in the middle of the pandemic, during the
Yes.
first wave. Yeah.
So the question is why? Why? Obviously it's a double standard. Are they purposely exaggerating this?
Imagine if
Try
it
to
was a
get-
DeSantis or a Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be forced to resign.
CDC was caught manipulating data to make Florida look worse.
Right.
There was an apology. There was a correction that they put in that the news did not cover.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's all done on purpose.
And
we've had a lot of pandemics before.
Yes.
Without changing the Constitution. 1918 was much, much worse.
Yes.
SARS, I mean, I can go on and on.
I mean,
And
all this just goes to show to what lengths these people will go to depose one man whom they see as a threat.
well, one interesting quote that I don't remember which politician said it, but he said basically, it's not enough that we defeat Trump. We have to make sure his kind does not rise again.
Wow.
And what do they mean by his kind? Not a New Yorker, not a rich businessman. They meant the non-elite.
Yeah, the middle class
outside of the group. Yes. They want control.
So in essence, they want to wipe out 74 million Americans' opinions.
They want to stay in control. And that's why I think a lot of these Republicans, the rhinos that they're called, they're loyal opposition. That was a term that basically meant opposition in name only.
Right.
And they're just as rich. The government continues to grow under a lot of these rhinos.
Right.
The congressmen continue to get richer under these rhinos. So, I mean, they're as much for the deep state as the Democrats are, and that's why they hate Trump too.
Right.
It's simple. They like being able to sell influence for money. They like getting insider trading information and making money out of it. They like using their ties to make money.
Right.
They don't want anyone messing up with it. The intelligence agencies are more powerful than ever. The DC has more government, more money than ever. Not only is it just the DC politicians, but the federal government in general. I mean, a lot of them are six-figure salaries. They're
Right.
getting rich off the taxpayers, all of
That's
DC.
absolutely
This is
true.
why everyone hates Trump in DC.
Right.
Your federal jobs used to be, well, you got paid crap, but you had good benefits.
Yeah.
Now you get rich from it. They're the reason why everyone hates Trump in DC, and it's not because of Trump.
Right.
It's because he wants to drain the swamp, and that is
And
their
because of
paycheck.
and because of what he stands for.
Yeah.
He says if you're wrong, you're wrong. There's no covering up.
Yes, and
Right.
and that is the problem.
Right.
And I think some people are waking up, but is it enough? And
But even if it is enough, don't you think it's too late? I mean, I think it's too late. I'm sorry for sounding so pessimistic, but I mean, tell me one plausible way you can come out of this. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
well, here's the thing. Eventually, like no civilization lasts forever. No tyrannical government lasts forever. Eventually, there's the greatest empire collapses. The Mongols, who were the greatest warriors and had the biggest land empire ever, collapsed within 100 years.
Right.
I think as long as people want freedom and eventually fight for it, they'll eventually get it back. And really, my hope is in the state governments, because the state governments seem to be the fighters.
That is one thing that I mean, constitutionally speaking, that America has an advantage wherein the federal government cannot meddle with the state governments.
Yes. Well, they're trying.
I mean, that's not going to happen if they follow the Constitution. I mean, that's what the Federalist Papers are all about, right?
Correct. Well, HR 1 was blocked, which they tried to pass in the middle of the night, and that's a
Right.
federalized takeover of elections, was blocked by Ted
Ted
Cruz.
Cruz.
It's
Yeah.
my props there.
Yep.
Yes.
Ted Cruz, yeah.
But a lot of the state governments are fighters, and I think if enough state governments fight, the federal government will lose.
Right.
Because the federal government can't take over all the states.
Right.
And we do have 300 million guns, unlike other people. And that, and that idiot guy that's sleeping with the Chinese spies, like, well, you don't have nukes.
Eric
But,
Swalwell.
okay. Yes. We don't. But a government can't really survive on its own without support of some of the masses.
Right.
And the cities absolutely cannot survive on their own. They're utterly dependent on the counties.
What my cousin who lives in California told me the other day was apparently in all these like small businesses and restaurants, the people who own the place, they are the ones who are serving and cleaning. People are not coming and working because they're getting because they're getting checks from the government.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having a hell of a time trying to hire. And again, I mean, we don't have the money for this. Our deficit is incredibly high, and the deficits eventually come back to bite you.
Yes, I
But
mean,
yeah,
they're
there is
printing
that.
money left, right, and center.
Yes.
It's only going to last for so long.
Well, it's increasing inflation, and we're already getting hit by inflation. And every single instance of inflation, if you look at it, it starts by the government overprinting money. But they, again, if a government's big enough to give you everything, a government is big enough to take away anything. And that's what people don't realize.
Yeah, they don't realize that. Yeah, that's true. It makes total sense.
Take that crap away. They want you dependent on them. If you live off government subsidies, you're going to vote for the guy that gives you the most government subsidies.
And ultimately, we're going to end up like Cuba, like Cuba or Venezuela.
Well, Cuba, there is a big protest in Cuba. And again, I think the difference between us and Cuba is there's a lot of guns. That's why I think the Second Amendment defends the First Amendment. we're not giving up just guns, then you will have a civil war. And the state legislature still are not dominated by the globalists.
Are we close
And
to?
I think those two
I mean,
things,
is America close to civil war when it comes to the Second Amendment?
this is the closest we've been, I think, to 1961. And I think the average GOP Washington rhino has no idea how angry the base is.
Right.
They're going to find
I mean,
out.
they're so out of touch. That's true.
Yeah, they are. They're going to find out.
I can like from the back of my head, I can just say the people. I mean, people from the GOP who fight for the people. That the names that come to my mind are Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, then Tom Cotton, then again Ron DeSantis. So very few. That's the problem.
A very few. And Marjorie
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah,
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And yeah, I mean, not many. There's not many.
But if you see on the other side, there are like tons of Democrats who want to fight for what they think is right, and that's sad to see.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I always say the Democrats are a lot better of long-term goals than any Republicans, and the Democrats fight tooth and nail while the Republicans do not. And again, I think the Republicans don't really want to. A lot of them don't want to win. They're quite content not winning the culture war. They're quite content not beating.
As long as they hold power, that's what they care about.
Yeah, they want their gravy train. And again, why everyone likes Trump? Because he didn't give two craps about the gravy train, and he wanted to change things. It's really that simple. And again, I think enough people have noticed, but if we can retain control over elections, then there's going to be hell to pay in the next midterm.
I mean, if all the battleground states, if they sort out the election laws, I think 2022 the Republicans are going to sweep the floor with the Democrats.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the inflation is only going to get worse, and other things are only going to get worse.
Yes.
But yeah, and that's
and not just inflation. Okay. And what's ironic is, what's happening in Afghanistan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The American government,
the
American government is more concerned about what's happening on the Afghanistan border than what's happening on their border.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no doubt the way our army is set up, there's no way we could have won World War II. No.
I mean, you guys spent $88 billion over 20 years to get their army ready, and within 1 month, Taliban takes over.
Yes. I don't know if I ever want to go back in that. I mean, if we had to stay there, I don't think Trump would have pulled everyone out. I mean, I know he said it, but like it reminds me of the fall of Saigon. Yeah. Now, what a lot of people don't notice is in 73, 74, and the South Vietnamese were still able to push back against the North Vietnamese because we were still using our air power.
Right.
But after the supply of arms was cut off, then they fell. South Vietnam could have continued being free with very minimal casualties. And I think the same thing with Afghanistan. I don't know if it was a binary choice, but we made it a binary choice.
But do you think it's worth it going through all that again? I don't think it's worth it.
Well, then you have a terrorist country again. And again, I'm not the one there. I'm not the one fighting. But, it is a base for a Muslim extremist group.
I mean, with the way the situation is at the southern border, there is, I mean, you can't rule out some of those people dropping into the country anytime.
Yeah. I think I would have kept air power there. Because I think we're getting to the point where, where we're not in the trenches fighting anymore, but we're using air power to supplement.
Yeah, just go bomb the shit out of them.
Yeah, and still maybe have some advisors, but we don't have ground troops. That's what I would have done.
Right.
But I remember 1975, the fall of Saigon, and kind of feels the same way. This is not making our enemies more afraid of us.
Right. That's true.
Well, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you again for your time you spent. I know it's late in India. Thank you, sir.
I mean, that's fine. I enjoy talking about things like this.
Look forward to seeing you guys again. Talk to you
Yes.
soon.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too.
Remind me that I love you. It's not my fault.